world that you live in and come through is a world that's come undone in a lot of ways, and that's the trend line. It's climate change, it's biotic impoverishment, it's ocean acidification. In your body, if you're average, you got a couple hundred organic chlorine chemicals in you that don't belong there. But the opportunity of making a building was kind of a little porthole through which you could take something very small, 13,700 square foot building. And the question is, in part, can you begin to stitch the world back into coherence? Can you build so well that you don't use toxics, you don't change climate, you don't drive species into extinction, you cause no ugliness, human or ecological, upstream from the building, and also downstream from the building at some later time, some later place. So that's a pretty tough design assignment.
Well, Dr. Orr had come here to teach, and I had been asked to give an opening lecture for him to his class. And I had posited an idea that I'd been thinking about for 17 years of practice, which was, what if we could have a building like a tree? Why does human artifice have to damage the planet? Why do we have to think from an environmental perspective that growth is bad? And so I posited the notion that if a building could be like a tree, then it would make oxygen, sequester carbon, fix nitrogen, distill water, provide habitat for hundreds of species, accrue solar energy as fuel, make complex sugars and food, create microclimates, change colors with the seasons, and potentially self-replicate, which I think was the one that we worried about. That was a bit of a stretch.
A project of those ambitions was something totally new at that time, and that there really weren't any solid roadmaps or guides for doing something like that. And so part of my role in the office was to take some of the theory and some of the objectives and goals that were very, very high level and try to put them into practice, combining a series of new technologies or new approaches that hadn't been put together in an academic building in this country ever before.
The marvelous thing about the building is it did end up self-replicating.
What was unique about Oberlin was the fact that I could work with my professors very closely. We designed a system that monitored real-time energy and water use and displayed that in an easy-to-understand way on the web. And then we received so much interest in the system that we decided to start a company that would specialize in this technology.
The building has a real impact beyond a beautiful building. It is a beautiful building. It's an academic building where students can learn, but for those of us that were involved in it, it was a life-changing experience, and it really changed my life, and I continue to refer back to lessons I learned during the construction.
It inspired all sorts of things. I mean, for example, it doesn't have a LEED rating, and the reason it doesn't have a LEED rating is simply because it was designed and built before LEED existed. So we led LEED, if you think about it. If this building was to be put through the LEED protocols today, registering everything and measuring and reporting and keeping paperwork about things, it would be LEED Platinum on steroids. It's like really way out there. I mean, how many buildings you know make more energy than they need to operate and purify their own water, for example?
People say to me, why is a Marine Colonel interested in something like this? I mean, how does that have to do with anything? Well, the reason I'm here is to learn. I'm here to learn, how did Oberlin do this? I mean, how did they get this thing moving? How did they get this converging effort on a converging interest and be able to articulate it but then put it in a tangible form? In terms of grand strategy, for the job that I do, I think the central idea is sustainability for grand strategy for our nation. It's my opinion only, but I think if we could raise sustainability up to be our national strategic imperative, similar on the same level as what containment was throughout the Cold War years, now we're onto something. This is classic strategy. In a resource-constrained environment, how are you going to get from where you are to where you want to be?
I think it's that combination of architectural, environmental, and social leadership and pioneering that made this kind of a right place for it to happen. It didn't mean that it was easy. As it took hold, and when it finally really did take hold, I think the seeds really were able to sprout, and 10 years later we're seeing all of the fruits of those early ambitions.
We tracked the number of buildings that basically copied or used us as a template. And I quit count at well over 200. It was probably upwards of 400 to 500 buildings. But for me as a teacher, the best part of the building was that this became a laboratory, I mean, it's real easy to get in despair and get hopeless. And you see the big numbers going up or down like that or up like this, you know, my God, you know, Scotty, beat me out of here. And the goal of this building was to equip young people with a sense that they can do something important. And to help them acquire the analytical skills and practical wherewithal to do things that are important, and hope to energize the whole process. So they leave the experience of being in the building and through the program, and certainly Oberlin College, better informed, more energized, and better equipped to begin to make the transformations that the world needs.